What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be discussing more King of the Hill news because after the intro dropped, there's been more information coming out because, of course, the show is coming out soon on Hulu on August 4th. And there's all this hype now building up about it. So, Variety did an article, which we're going to go through in just a second. But before we do, I wanted to give you a shout out to all of you who watched my last video, my little breakdown of the intro that they released. And I love all the comments. And I know that I made a mistake on something that I said about one of the voice actors, that the voice actor for Khan wasn't returning, but I was wrong about that. And you guys were awesome and were correcting me in the comments. And this person by the name of Fatal Beast 22 made a comment saying, "There's some misinformation you have here. Khan will be in the show, but will be voiced by a different person. His old VA, who was also Cotton's VA, will be taking over for Dale later in the season, as Dale's original VA passed away part way through the production," which I knew about. Unfortunately, Johnny Hardaway passed away. The other thing was that, of course, you guys mentioned Luann was missing as well from the trailer, which was very sad. And I agree, acknowledge that because I will miss her character. And I kind of hope that they still mention her and just kind of say maybe like her and Lucky moved away together and they're still around, but just, just not going to be in the show because Lucky's voice actor also passed away. That was Tom Petty. And so I feel like maybe it would be cool if the show gave them a shout out and said they're just like living somewhere together far away or something. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out how they're going to handle that. But there was this Variety article, and I didn't read the whole thing, but I read some of it and I thought it was really interesting. So I decided to do a video on it because it does kind of go into some of these details and give us more details about what the show is going to be about. So I wanted to go through that. So let's do that. Let's go through this article together. Here it is. It says, King of the Hill revival first details Hank and Peggy are retired. Bobby's a Dallas chef. Dale was briefly Arlen's mayor, and more. First of all, I kind of knew about Bobby's becoming a Robota chef, which I covered in my earlier video, one of my first videos that I did on this when I found out about it during Christmas. But it's really cool to see that they're actually going with that. That was very early reporting, and a lot of the details were being kept under wraps. So it's good to see that they're definitely keeping that alive. But this article goes into more. And it says, King of the Hill fans are a passionate bunch. That is true. We love King of the Hill. We are very passionate, which is why star Pamela Alden says that she's gotten used to people showing her their tattoo of her character, Bobby Hill. That's definitely dedication. When you tattoo someone on yourself or a character on yourself, that's definite dedication. I have a trove of people who send me their Bobby tattoos, Alden said, or they have a Bobby pin. The head is Bobby pin, or they have just a Bobby with his shirt up with chips on the couch. I'm like, you have that on your arm or your tit forever? Why? But I'm honored. That's hilarious. I've always wanted one of those let go of my purse merches. I want a purse with Bobby's face on it that says, I don't know you, let go of my purse. But I still haven't been able to track one down or buy one. But I will at some point, I'm sure. Now, moving on with the article, it goes on to say, Alden and fellow King stars Lauren Tom, who voices Connie, and Toby Huss, Con, Cotton, and now Dale. Shout out to the commentator who corrected me on that. So that's what's going on. It's being confirmed here. Joined co-stars Mike Judge, also who voices Hank Hill and Boomhauer, and Greg Daniels on Austin's Paramount Theater stage Friday at the ATX TV Festival to reminisce about the series' 13 season run and give some hints what's to come as the show is revived for a season 14. Yay! We all grew up together, Tom said. When we first started coming back, it just felt like a giant family reunion. They let us see the first 2 episodes before we got together, and I can't wait for you guys. Every person that comes on the screen and speaks just gives you a little lift. Oh, it's great. Judge, who was coming off the success of Beavis and Butthead when he partnered with Daniels to create King of the Hill in 1997, recounted how Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing actually inspired him to make the show. That's really cool. What a cool little detail. I wanted to also point out that it's really interesting that he brings up Beavis and Butthead, because Beavis and Butthead, the revival of these Beavis and Butthead, is something that I think was the catalyst of this show coming into being again. And one of the reasons I think that it's going to do well is because Beavis and Butthead stayed true to itself, to the originality that was Beavis and Butthead, of what we were used to when we watched the show back in the day. So it kept to the spirit. And that's why I think that this show is also going to keep to the spirit of things. The article goes on to say, I used to live in Richardson, Texas, outside Dallas in early 90s. Do the Right Thing came out. I remember thinking, I've never even been to Brooklyn, but you could just tell there was something like, wow, this is really nuanced, he said. It seems real. Why can't someone just do this? But our little neighborhood, I hadn't seen anything like that. It was during San Francisco's Sketch Fest in 2017, during the 20th anniversary of the King of the Hill table read, the episode of Husky Bobby, that the audience's strong reaction first gave Judge and Daniels the idea to perhaps bring the show back. The duo pitched the idea of a revival to Fox, where the show ran from 1997 to 2009, and they weren't interested. It took a while, but as Hulu started to build up its animation docket, the momentum grew. That's absolutely awesome. Alden said she would hear from Kathy Najimy, who plays Peggy Hill, every once in a while about the latest rumor that King was making a comeback. I never get gassed up about stuff like this until it's real, she said. And even the Sketchfest, which was the best feeling and experience, I was like, nothing going to happen. I never wish for things like that because it's too big of a dream. Oh, well, it's come true. Yay. But Judge and Daniels landed on the idea that got them excited. Age up the characters to present day. When we started talking about aging the characters, the idea started coming, Judge said, because it's such a grounded, realistic show. It just seemed right that they'd be older. That just seemed like the right thing. And you know what? That is absolutely something really cool about King of the Hill, and what separated it apart from other animated shows at the time, for example, The Simpsons being one of the main ones, was that it was so different from The Simpsons, like at least for me, because The Simpsons was always the same, whereas in King of the Hill was very grounded and changed with the times. Like the season when they showed Joseph coming back after hitting puberty and he was physically different and he was growing up. That was such a cool thing at the time, because I was used to animations like The Simpsons where nobody changed anything ever. Rarely anything really ever stuck with The Simpsons. Whereas in this show was just so different and so much more grounded, and things did change. And I think that this is really in line with the spirit of the show. So it's very, very cool. Added Daniels, Hank, and all these people, to get to bring them back was just really fun, writing them and listening, kind of remembering what their tastes were. They also rewatched the show to get back into the mindset. Judge said it was then that he rediscovered it was a good show. Yes, it was, Mike. Yes, it was a fantastic show. And I've watched the show. I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched it all the way through. I've lost count. From there, it wasn't hard to get the actors to sign on. Tom laughed that a reporter had asked her whether it was a hard decision whether to return, or that they had to be convinced, to which Alden quipped, "We're actors. We're whores. I don't care if it's good." That's wow. What a good, I love these people. They have such a good sense of humor. The 14th season of King of the Hill will debut all of 10 episodes on August 4th. Yay! I love that. I love that. The binge model. Yes. Here are a few more tidbits about the new season we gleaned while moderating King of the Hill panel at ATX. So here we go. Some more details. Hank and Peggy moved to an Armco base in Saudi Arabia, where he was busy working on Saudi propane and Saudi propane accessories. This is amazing. I love this idea. This is great. Returning to Arlen, Hank and Peggy are now retired, but struggling to figure out what to do with themselves. Like, what happens to a guy who just has to be working on stuff all the time? Judge said, this is true, just like the original Hank. Like, he couldn't even take vacation days. You guys remember when Buck was like, you need to take a vacation, and he just couldn't even do that? Or the episode where he had to go on workers' comp because he hurt his back and he was refusing to take time off. This is great. This is great. Ada Daniels, when we first marketed the show back in the day, we used to say Andy Griffith is back and he's pissed. We like the idea of him living on the base at Aramco base, and that it was like this completely idealized American picket fence existence for the last few years, and then to come back and just see what state we're in. Oh, that's funny. It turns out that manufactured American community in Saudi Arabia was perhaps more to Hank's liking than where Arlen is in 2025. And both he and Peggy struggle with their return. Hank kind of liked that women were covered up in Saudi Arabia, Judge joked, and he comes back and there's a bike lane, a scooter lane, all of this stuff that happened in the last 15 years. This is so interesting because they're basically going on the ride like the way the audience is, right? Because the audience hasn't seen these characters for that long, and they're making it so that we are Hank and Peggy basically. So we're catching up to these characters and where Arlen is at, and so are Peggy and Hank. And I think that's a really interesting correlation of what they're planning on doing. And I just think it's hilarious that Hank thought that like people should that women should be covered up. He's very conservative. It makes sense. That's funny. Bobby is 21 and an accomplished chef at his successful Dallas restaurant and Robotot chain, which boasts an unusual German sushi fusion, which I think is really cool. I theorized in my previous videos that it's possible that maybe they'll even do like a little episode where Hank's half-brother Genichiro was gonna come to town, maybe to Arlen or to Dallas to check out Bobby's sushi restaurant. That would be kind of cool to see that if that is in the plans. I don't know, but I'm just theorizing that would be cool. And of course, like all the stuff with Robotot being a charcoal way of cooking things, I don't think Hank's gonna be happy about that. But the article goes on. The Austin crowd, upon learning this, booed the idea of Dallas, and it was clear that Arlen is outside of Dallas. This makes it firmer also, and that's kind of funny that they booed. Also, and this most definitely won't go well with Hank, but he's using charcoal for his stoves. That's not going to go well at all. That's not going to go well. He's an adult person who could go to a bar and get a beer and also have agency over himself. And he's a hard worker, Alton said. He learned from his parents, and that's exciting to me. I love that. I love watching young people achieve in any way, shape, or form. I like young people to keep going and have a plan B and a plan. When it's pointed out that this adult Bobby has swagger and some game with the ladies, Alden noted that Bobby was always special. It's true. He was. He always did, she said. The whole spectrum. He was born, fully formed person. He was the Dalai Lama. He was. That's true. I love that episode. The ending line always gets me when that guy's like, it was my call and I made it. It was like such a good line. He got all the ladies. So this is not an unusual thing. He was always a ladies' man. It's true. It's almost like as an adult, he's become more centered and a little bit like his dad. Dale Gribble was briefly Arlen's mayor, as hinted in the new show Open, but it didn't go well. I would have figured that it wouldn't have gone well. I'm actually surprised that he won because I thought they were just saying, oh, he's running, but I didn't think he was going to win, but apparently he won. As the show's off-kilter conspiracy theorist, he hasn't changed, but the world has. So now Dale is bizarrely seen as a bit grounded because of what's happening in the country. Dale now is a little bit left of right wing when he used to be all the way right, Huss said. Now, this is a really interesting statement, and I know it's alarmed some people, but I think that's just really interesting because we joke about how a lot of conspiracy theories have come true throughout the time that this show has been off the air. I mean, look at what happened with COVID. I mean, certain other things that I'm not even going to get into, but conspiracy theories have been known to come true and be more than just theories. Let's just say that. And I think this is an interesting fact about a character development with Dale, because when you kind of find out that you've been correct about a lot of stuff, right? It's kind of like a validating thing. And maybe because the country and the situation has gone so far left, maybe it just does seem like he's more centered now than all the way right. So I think that that will be really interesting to see his character development. It's not necessarily as alarming to me as it is to some other people, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Huss said that it was an honor to take on the role of Dale Gribble after the death of the original star, Johnny Hardwick. Rest in peace, Johnny. Rest in peace. Hardwick voiced Dale in the revival's first 6 episodes before he died in 2023. Huss takes over after that. I'm going to take a moment of silence here for Dale and Luann and Lucky. All of these good people gone. They're going to be missed. I'm going to miss them. Johnny, he was an Austin guy, and he was one of a kind, Huss said. He was a wonderful fellow. He was a wonderful weirdo too. And he didn't start off as an actor. He was a stand-up, and he was a goofball, and he was a writer. And the takes he would have of Dale, I sit there and watch him and go, where the F did he get that? Watching him year after year, and then the fact that you guys trust me to do his voice is really humbling. He said to Judge and Daniels, I'm not trying to copy Johnny as much as I guess I'm trying to be Johnny, and hopefully Dale comes out through that. Oh, that is really sweet. Just knowing how much he honors Johnny just makes it better. I think we're all the fans are gonna love it. I think we're all going to love it. I love the fact that they kept Dale in the show and they didn't just kill him off. So the amount of honor and the amount of just props that he's giving to Johnny is great to read. But it's with a lot of love and respect for the guy. He laid down really a wonderful goofball character. The character was a nut, but he had a lot of weird heart to him. He did. And that's a credit to Johnny. So sad he's not here. Yeah. Definitely. The producers also have plans to pay tribute to Brittany Murphy, and Tom Petty Lucky, who have also passed. There's something that we talked about to figure out what we did, the best thing, both to honor them and for the fans for the show as well. Patterson says, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh, I'm going to cry when I see that. I bet you. We found opportunities to let them be referenced in the show. I feel a very respectful way. We know the importance that they had. Oh, that's great. Connie is in college studying engineering and also sexually fluid. Oh, well, hello. That's a detail I didn't expect. She's very much more open, Tom said. Whenever an actor does a role, they always draw upon themselves and say, well, how am I like that? Let me try to bring myself. I guess it seems more authentic. So Connie is a little bit more open-minded than me. That was kind of nice to see in that Gen Z way of, that acronym ENM, ethical non-monogamy. It's racier than I thought Connie would be. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, it kind of would make sense though, because she was a lot more rigid when she was younger. So it makes sense that she would be just kind of exploring herself in the college years. That's interesting. And also, I remember watching an interview with Mike Judge where he said originally they had Luann as a character to kind of bounce off that awkwardness about her sexuality with Hank's very conservative values and like how he's very uncomfortable around women. So it'll be interesting that Connie is going to kind of replace that fact, because Luann's not going to be there. So she's going to be now replacing that. For Bill Stephen Root, it's been a tough world without Hank and Peggy as neighbors. I bet. Oh my gosh. Bill became homebound during the pandemic and never leaves the house. Bill goes, Hank, I think I finished Netflix, Patterson said. That's fun. New showrunner Saladin Patterson, who was working on shows like The PJs, Frasier, and Bernie Mac during the original King of the Hill run, was a fan who jumped at the chance to join the revival. Patterson had just worked on a reboot of The Wonder Years, but that didn't stop him. After doing Wonder Years, I was like, coming into a property that already has a fan base is so hard. He said, you can never appease everybody. That's true. That's true. No one's ever going to really accept you as the thing. And then they said King of the Hill was available, and I said, I'll do it. I was such a huge fan of the original. And then first time I sat down with Mike and Greg and saw the vision they had and it being present day with characters, I thought, we hadn't seen that before. There's so much to tackle creatively with that. Honestly, it was just an opportunity to kind of join a family that I had always watched from afar. I used to think of the Cosby Show like that before. Very interesting. And that's it. That's the end of the article. Very, very cool. So a lot to be excited about. I'm still excited. I can't wait. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts about the article and the new details coming out. And are you still excited to watch it? Are you gonna even watch it? Are you gonna give it a try? I'll definitely watch it, and probably, I don't know if I'll do like an episodic review, but I'll probably do like a season review, especially since they're doing the binge model and dropping the whole thing. Thank God. Because I don't think I could wait every week for another episode. So yay that they're doing that. And I guess my August is going to be really busy watching King of the Hill. That's for this video. Thanks guys for watching, and make sure you smash the like and share the video if you liked it, and also subscribe if you're new here. And until next time, have a good one. Bye everyone. Bye.